Hello, friends. Welcome back to another monthly energy update. This is for the month of August 2024. As always, I want to invite you to tune into what in this reading is for you, to take what resonates and leave the rest. So, the theme for the month of August is resilience, and the sub-themes are intuition, balance, sensitivity, boundaries, and death rebirth. So this is a month where I do feel we're going to be given opportunities to really lean into our resilience. Not necessarily in the sense that it's going to be a really hard month where we're going to need to be resilient, but more so in the sense that we're really going to be able to feel our resilience and to embody it and appreciate it. And the more that we can sort of direct our attention toward that, the more we will fuel this growing capacity that we have. There's an aspect of this resilience that stems from our lived experiences. It's the accumulated wisdom that we're able to embody, but it's sort of clicking into place and coming online for us in a new way. And there's going to be opportunities for different things in our lives to balance out, as well as opportunities for us to apply ourselves toward balance, toward resilience, and to really anchor in this wisdom. It's almost like we're taking off the training wheels, but ultimately we're really able to see how much progress we have made. So this month, this theme of resilience is not the kind of stoic, white-knuckled kind. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and there may be, moments of that, small aspects of that, but we're really being guided to relate to resilience in a different way and to kind of fold in our sensitivity and especially our intuition, our connection with the other world. This is really important this month, but also just in general as we move forward on the earth, with the earth. So the vision that I had for this month was basically being shot out of a volcano really high in the air, and the feeling was that of breaking through our ceilings, our self-imposed ceilings, over and over again. And again, like last month, there is this kind of overarching theme of growth beyond what we think is possible. And it's like we're being reminded over and over again to stay curious about our perspective around what we think is possible. We're being asked to imagine more, or to at least remain humble to what's possible ultimately in the scope of our lives. This month is about growth, but it might not necessarily be explosive. Who knows, maybe it will be. But my sense is that this month is more about almost preparing. We're growing our capacity, and we're strengthening the skills and the tools that we need in order to break through these limitations and feeding our resilience and our intuition and the relationship between the two are really important parts of this. They're really important tools that we're building. So the card of the month is the Three of Wands. And so our emphasis, our focus this month is on growth, on newness. There's a death or rebirth energy to this reading, to this time. We have the Death card as well as the Ten of Swords. So there's definitely still some of that energy of transformation and closing out cycles from last month. You know, with the Ten of Swords, with the Ten of Swords, there's some way about our thinking and our processing that can't come forward with us to where we're going, right? But and so there's aspects of our, particularly the way we think about things and have processed things, that are dying and transforming. But the focus for this month is on that growth, right? So if you're aware of some things that need to change and you're feeling a little unsteady or unclear about where you are in that process or how it's unfolding, that's okay. The changes that need to happen are happening, and we can trust that. What we're really being invited to focus on is not managing those changes, but rather this desire for more, for something different, that new growth, the open terrain, so to speak. And that focus and that attention is going to fuel the rewriting of our patterns of processing. It's going to, simultaneously be pruning what needs to be pruned, so to speak. So we don't have to worry about that. Our animal guide this month is the hare, which is associated with rebirth, intuition, and balance. So we have the Death card, and then we also have this card of rebirth and balance. And how balanced is that, right? There's a lot of interesting parallels and complementary energies in this reading, as well as explicit nods to balance and the importance of balance. So the hare is a kind of liminal creature that is deeply associated with the other world and with shape-shifting, and especially world traveling between worlds. So again, with this theme of resilience, I feel strongly that we will be learning to really lean on our intuition and our connection to the other side in order to draw the strength, the faith, and the sort of dynamic agility that supports us in wisely adapting to and balancing out the various circumstances that we find ourselves in. So this theme of intuition and kind of the connection with the other world is really strong in this reading. We also have the card of Fairy Ink Cap from the Mushroom Spirit Oracle deck. So this card says subtlety, and to me it's kind of emblematic of the highly sensitive person archetype. It is about delicacy, maybe fragility, but also this kind of slower, deeper processing and attention that allows us to sense magic that often goes missed. And there's the idea that for highly sensitive people, this attunement to the rich subtleties of life greatly enhances and enriches our experience. But there's also this idea that this subtle attunement it also helps us in discerning important information, right? Perhaps with less stimulus than other people. That's part of Elaine Aron's, reasoning as to why highly sensitive people have been, like, this trait has been evolutionarily advantageous, right? People who are highly sensitive and attuned to subtle differences in the environment might be able to pick up on subtle cues toward danger that go unnoticed by other people, but also cues that point toward opportunity, right? So I think that part of this work around resilience that we're doing has to do with folding in this part of us, whether or not you're a highly sensitive person, but just folding in and opening to your sensitivity and really cultivating that side of yourself and reinforcing the ways in which it helps you, right? And that in turn reinforces your relationship with your intuition and strengthens it. So we're approaching resilience and strength from an integrated place where these soft, intuitive, and sometimes delicate parts of ourselves are fully on board, and we're working with them, not in spite of them. And there is a little bit of emphasis on boundaries in this reading. So we have the Two of Pentacles and also the Milk Thistle card, which is to the left of the Fairy Ink Cap card. So with this Milk Thistle card, it says Peaceful Warrior, and it's very much about creating a safe haven, a sort of sanctuary space for ourselves. And it's kind of like the balancing force to this softness, right? There's this simultaneous need to balance that with protection and really cultivating, maintaining containers of safety for us where we're able to deepen into that softness. So yeah, there's just this really lovely dynamic being highlighted here that I think represents a sort of balance that we are going to be exploring this month and going to be growing through. I also, I think that this protective aspect also refers to those sacred seeds of growth that we might be sensing within us, those new desires that we might be exploring, that Three of Wands energy. This protection energy is also about protecting and nurturing that, as well as our sensitivity and our capacity to deepen into our intuition within ourselves. So There is another card in this deck, that the Knight of Cups, that sits between them, that also underscores this emphasis on balance. So the way that I was taught to think about this card is that we can envision ourselves carrying a bowl of water, a big bowl, like a big mixing bowl. And this bowl is kind of full in this example. So if we were to walk with this bowl of water without being mindful of it, without really acknowledging that we're holding it, the water is going to slosh around, it's going to splash on us and spill out, it's going to be messy, right? But if we're able to turn our attention, simply just turn our attention toward the fact that we're carrying this bowl, and allow that to inform the way that we walk, the way that we move, right? We then grow the capacity to hold all of that. So this mindfulness actually creates capacity to hold, to move, to sense into what's needed to attain or regain balance, right? And with this card being reversed, I really do feel that I don't know. I don't want to say that we might not. I don't want to say that it's going to be a completely smooth month, but I do think that in general, this is going to be that feeling of like, okay, I'm doing it, or I know what needs to happen and I'm course correcting, There's going to be a lot of opportunity for applying ourselves, yes, but also witnessing the capacity that we do have and sort of, fine-tuning it and applying it in a way that allows us to celebrate ourselves. So I think that that's really important, we need to turn our attention toward highlighting our wins as much as possible and celebrating the ways that we have grown and the balance that we are able to achieve, or even the fact that we're able to, course correct as smoothly as we are. So all of these cards they're really just so interrelated in such a beautiful way. Like, I could talk about it forever, but it just feels like we have this really strong, sturdy net of support underneath us this month that is helping us to anchor in and further these skills, these capacities that we're growing. So with this Milk Thistle card, the last thing I want to say is about that badger element, the badger that sits on top of the person's head. So the badger element kind of brings in that Martian energy, a little bit of that fierce protection. I don't get the feeling overall that this is going to be a month full of ferocity, but there is this sort of, there may be some moments of, boundaries or lines that we draw that we're able to do them to enact that energy in a relatively peaceful way. We're able to kind of say what we need to say and then readjust. But the other thing I want to say about the badger energy is that it has this association with breaking down patterns that are limiting, right? So it's feeding into and supporting, bolstering the cards above it, which are the Death and the Ten of Swords, and also the Failure card. So this Failure card, I I thought about using this deck, the Soul Lessons deck, for this reading, and then I decided not to. And then I said, no, actually I'm going to use it. And I was like, I'm going to use it on the condition that I don't pull any triggering cards, okay? Because last month there were a bunch of them, and I don't know what that was, me trying to negotiate with my guides or something, but I open the deck and the card on top is failure. And I'm like, cool, exactly the card that I don't want. Probably not going to get it again, you know, I'm going to put it back in. What are the chances of that? Well, I shuffled the deck really well and everything, and the card that I got was a failure card. And honestly, it was funny to me. It was really funny, and I laughed. And it was like my field was just lit up with laughter and humor. And I think that is actually part of the medicine of this card, and I'm sharing this example just to kind of communicate that and add that into the transmission of like kind of this trickster, jokester energy of like laughing at our mistakes. You know, maybe something goes completely wrong and we just give it another go, you know? There's this sort of lightness and amusement that I think is going to be really helpful for us and is really at the heart of a lot of resilience, you know? And I actually am re-recording this reading because I recorded it and then I'm not sure what happened, but it didn't save properly and I couldn't access the original file, so there was no audio. Anywho. But yeah, so I don't want anybody to be afraid of this failure card. I do not think that it portends like some sort of abject failure or even objective, like significant failure. And I don't even think it portends little oopsies like what happened to me, but I do think that there's something here for us in this capacity that we're building and this resilience around reworking our relationship with failure. I think that idea of or the ability to laugh at ourselves and to just try again is really important. And you know, for some of us, we may be working through themes that relate to mistakes, things not going according to plan, just feeling like a failure for whatever reason. A lot of times I feel like a failure when I haven't failed at said thing or whatever. It's like, it's my own subjective experience and it's not really reflective of reality, but the feeling is still a problem and it still can create and shape limiting behaviors and further limiting thoughts, you know? So for some of us, this Ten of Swords energy may relate to the ways that we engage with these themes of life, right? Like mistakes, that sort of thing. Or the things that trigger those feelings that relate to failure within us. But again, this is not something that we need to focus on. I really don't think it is, but I think it's here as like a mindfulness reminder, and I think that humor aspect is really, it's just it's inherently part of the message of this card, I'm convinced, because of the way that it happened. So yeah. Yeah, I think the note that I want to end on is just this idea of really celebrating ourselves and highlighting our wins and our resilience, our intuition, our strength. Really, yeah, just taking every opportunity we can to celebrate that and to pay attention to that. And just like that mindfulness in the Knight of Cups literally creates the capacity functionally to hold more, this is fueling this process of celebration and of like paying attention to our wins, to our growth, to our resilience. This is fueling a very important power, like a quiet power and capacity that we're building under the surface of our lives. And it's like that is the magma that's turning and building within the earth that is going to take us forward and enable us to turn the ceilings of our lives into floors. And the last thing I want to say is really just that we're also celebrating our intuition and our sensitivity and our ability to melt into this deeper and more ethereal and magical connection with the world, with the earth, with life, with our ancestors, our guides. For some people, this is really like explicitly multidimensional in the sense that maybe they're connecting with their star family or something like that. But this can also just look like beginning to really see trees, like you're meeting them for the first time, really feeling them, communing with them. It's this precious ability that all humans have in their own way to connect with life, and in ways that haven't really been supported culturally in the West for some time. There's a huge ripening around this that's happening generally, and the more that we're able to nurture and cultivate this sensitivity within us, the more that we'll be able to really flow with this wave of awakening that is happening on the earth. So I hope that we're all really able to celebrate ourselves this month, celebrate our growth, celebrate the beautiful desires blooming within us, that sacred desire for more, that strength and the resilience, but also the precious sensitivity and the magic that flows from it. My wish is that we are all able to give ourselves the loving, witnessing attention and care that we deserve this month. I'm wishing you all an amazing August. Happy Leo season. Happy Virgo season. Thank you for being here. I will talk to you next month. Bye-bye.